So we are going to address a fairly important point, which is the extremely smooth. So, what is smooth? Imagine you have created a 3D object with surfaces that are a bit angular and rather flat, like a cube, for example. Now we want this object to look softer, more rounded, and more aesthetically pleasing. And well, to do that, we will essentially use the smooth tool in Maya. Smooth is a bit like a magic wand that gives the object a more organic and smoother appearance. It takes flat surfaces and gently stretches them to create more natural and fluid curves. It's a bit like running our hand over a rough piece of wood in a way to make it smooth to the touch, carefully and meticulously. Specifically, what Maya actually does when we tell it to smooth is that it subdivides the number of polygons. So actually, subdivision works like this. Every time we subdivide, the details become more precise and the surface becomes smoother, as if we were refining the model with clay in the end. You will understand in the examples that I have put right here in this video. So you might actually tell me, here I have a cube and here I have a sphere. Everything is basically perfectly fine. Well, if I inform you that this cube and this sphere was the same thing. Now you might be wondering, what is this thing? Well, you will see that I am going to transform this sphere into a cube in reverse time. And it will revert to a sphere in reverse time. That's the smooth. There are two methods for smooth. There is the first method, which is smooth, or what we call pre-smooth. When you have your mesh, whether it's this cube or, for example, let's take a cylinder. If I press 3, it will smooth out, meaning it will subdivide, but in a way that you won't really see the subdivision happening. The operation that Maya is performing. But really, believe me, it has subdivided your polygons. A polygon, I remind you, is this. That is to say, your square has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 polygons. And visually it still has 6. But what actually happens is that since it is a pre-smooth, Maya shows us the 6 polygons. But in fact, it performs a calculation and subdivides into many more polygons than that. So to pre-smooth a mesh, you press 3. For unsmooth, you press 1. And if I press 2, you will see that we can roughly understand what is happening. This, what is in green, is our base cylinder. And there, what results is the pre-smooth version of Maya. So this is one way to smooth. Here, since it's a basic modeling, and it's a bit lacking, it results in something not very high quality. But if I look here, it's a very, very basic green. So there, I don't have its X at all. Not there either. But if I press 3 here, you can see that it looks much nicer. It's much prettier. There. It already looks much more like a green. And if I press 1, it goes back to normal. There you go. So that's really the first way to smooth. But this way of smoothing, as I said, is a pre-smooth. That is to say, in your Maya software, if you keep these objects at 3, there is no problem. They will remain smooth. So you will be able to render your object like this, no problem. However, it only works in your Maya viewport. That is to say, if you are going to export your object to another software, it will not be smooth at all. It will appear like this. Because this smooth is only, if you will, actually indeed inherent to Maya. So it's definitely absolutely extremely beneficial if we want to see our object, we can very well leave it like this. There is no problem. This is one way to operate, but there is a second method that works and is also very useful, which is to smooth, but in a permanent way, meaning to perform true subdivision. That is to say, we will really subdivide, so we will have many more polygons displayed in the viewport, and the density of the mesh will be much greater in terms of the number of polygons. So you will see that if I click on this mesh, which is a 3D object, Then I hold down the Shift key, and then right-click with the mouse. A lot of different tools and options will appear on the screen. So don't worry, we will take a look at all these tools right after. It's a bit like our toolbox, if you will. And for now, we are going to focus on the smooth. So you see, I hold it down, and when I hold it down, I can select the one I want. I just have to simply release my click to select what I want, and that's it. So I really want the smooth. So I release my right click, my Shift key, and now you can see that it has been separated into parts for me. There is a small window here that we can move, which appears, and you can see that if I just left click and move my mouse, we will be able to easily choose how many times our mesh is subdivided. Simply, so here it is at 0. Here it's at 1, at 2, at 3. And we can go like this really slowly. So I don't recommend going super slow, because simply put, your Maya doesn't like it when there are too many polygons. So our goal is to have something nice with as few polygons as possible. Well, the least possible. The least possible isn't necessarily that, because that definitely, absolutely. Okay, there aren't many polygons, but you can see that compared to where it's pre-smooth, it looks nice. Here, we can see that it's not super polished, that it's not very regular. We can still see the edges that are present, and they are quite visible. So on that front, it's not great. Except that if we start to increase it, we already have something that is getting closer. We have something that is almost identical to our press smooth. So indeed, from a distance, it looks great. When you get closer, that's when you start to see the little edges that are present. So basically, the smooth, if you will, depends on the level of detail you want to bring to your mesh. If your mesh